Hello again. I thought that I would talk this afternoon about circumcision because with the coronation of King Charles approaching, it is interesting to remember that he was, as a baby, circumcised by a rabbi. The British royal family is at the centre of a number of conspiracy theories. According to David Icke, they are shape-shifting reptiles from the planet Zog living on blood. And I've seen a few other even more interesting ideas, such as that they are descended from Jesus and so on. There are also a number of anti-Semitic conspiracy theories around the royal family, suggesting that they are either in league with the Jews or indeed that they are Jews themselves. Talking of King Charles's circumcision should send those theories into overdrive. First, though, a personal anecdote. A number of people watching my videos have decided that I must be Jewish. I am not, but I must now reveal that my own brother was actually circumcised by a rabbi, and what's more, the same one who did King Charles. Let me explain a little. I always laugh when I hear people complaining about circumcision as genital mutilation and hinting that there is something exclusive to Jews and Muslims about the practice. It's nothing of the kind. Over 80% of the people in sub-Saharan African countries are circumcised. In South Korea, over 86% of male children are circumcised. Even in the United States, 80% of men are circumcised. It's very, very common. In Britain, the figure's roughly 1 in 6 of the male population. The idea that this is just a Jewish custom is absurd. Many years ago, I had an American girlfriend, and she was fascinated by my penis because she said I was the first uncircumcised man she had ever been to bed with. After the end of the Second World War, circumcision in Britain enjoyed something of a boom for several reasons. The first was as a matter of health. Uncircumcised men do not get cancer of the penis, and nor do their wives get cancer of the cervix. Those disorders are wholly unknown among Jews. We don't need to go into the reasons for this. The second motive was simply snobbishness. Throughout the late 19th and early 20th century, upper class and very upper middle class families in Britain had their sons circumcised. It was one of those things which marked one out as being a little bit upper class, like calling the mirror the looking glass and saying lavatory rather than toilet. I'm sure some viewers will remember Mitford's book about you and non-you, and it was part of that tradition. So there was a desire to have sons circumcised to show that one was a little above the ordinary run-of-the-mill working classes. There was a bit of a craze for this in the late 40s and early 50s. My parents felt like this when my brother was born a few months after Prince Charles. They asked around in the East End, where we used to live, for the best person to do this, and so Rabbi Jacob Snowman was recommended. He was both a medical doctor and also a mohel, a traditional circumciser. Mohels are usually called rabbi as an honorific title. So it was they arranged for Rabbi Snowman to come round to the house. By the time I was born the following year, they were a little bit hard up, and so they skimped by not having me circumcised. This leads obviously to the question, why on earth did Buckingham Palace send for a rabbi to circumcise the boy who would be heir to the throne? The answer to that is that nobody really knows. There is a legend that King George I, who was German, brought the custom to England when he became king, but there's no evidence for this. It might simply have been that upper class habit which I mentioned. I'm bound to say that when I was at school, half the boys I knew had been circumcised. It was very popular in the 40s and 50s, although it's fallen rather from fashion these days. Jacob Snowman was a very well-known and fashionable doctor, and it may have been this which caused the royal family to choose him, rather than the fact that he was also a Mohel. I do find it amusing to see people talking as though circumcision or its absence is an infallible way of distinguishing between Jews and Gentiles, to say nothing of those who regard it as being a wicked action and cruel to a child. I've witnessed two boys being circumcised at the ages of 7 or 8 without any anaesthetic, and I'm bound to say that they didn't seem to be too traumatised by the experience. Although Jews perform this ritual soon after birth, Muslims usually leave it until the child is 6 or 7 or even older. I was working in a village in a remote part of Turkey in the 1970s, and two boys were circumcised together there. It was a big celebration, and they were as excited as children in this country are who have a birthday party to look forward to. The operation was undertaken swiftly, and there was little loss of blood. Both boys were smiling cheerfully enough at the party afterward. I will say now that I don't have any strong feelings either for or against this practice, but it cannot be denied that there are certain advantages from a health point of view. Indeed, Dr. Snowman wrote an entire book on the subject. In the description to this video, I give a link to the Wikipedia article about Rabbi Snowman so that viewers will be able to see that I'm not simply making any of this up.